Welcome to the Centrepiece, and this is a Centrepiece special, and we bring you across the lands. So today we're touring to the USA with Bobbi Bailin, and I'm very excited about this because I want to know more about the culture over in America. So I know it's a hard one because America's so vast, but Bobbi's going to give us her version of where she is. So let's grab our candles and light them together, and I'm going to pick an angel for you today, and we'll start with that. For today is, let's see what we have. Oh, this is a nice one. I like this. We have, don't know if you can see in the light, hold on. We have honesty. What a beautiful, beautiful word to have, and what a wonderful angel to have with us by our side on this tour to USA. So I'm going to put this on the centerpiece and we can tune in together. So let's take our hands around the centerpiece and a large breath in. And to our homes, connecting the vast family of sacred dance together. Thank you. And let's welcome Bobbi to the screen if we could. Thank you. Hi, Bobbi. It's lovely to have you.
Thank you.
And so Bobbi is going to be taking us a tour of the USA, and I'm going to be helping in the background. Tatiana will be on chat. And yes, Bobbi, welcome. It's such a big task you have here to take us on this tour of the USA. So I'm just going to bow to you for taking the task, and I'm going to welcome you to the full screen, and we'll hold you whilst you take this tour. I'm by your side.
Thank you, Brant. And thank you all. It's so nice to see you all. I hope you've all been well, and I welcome you all to this program going across, around, and through the United States. And I welcome this angel of honesty. Thank you for being with us today. I'll begin with a brief introduction of how I plan to spend our time together. I've had to condense so much diversity of culture, so many wonderful stories, and really thousands of miles of beautiful land to fit it all into 2 hours. And Brant, you're eager to hear about our culture. So a few words. It's not possible to describe the culture of the United States in any brief terms. And my experience of being American is very different from those whose parents were born here. My parents were both refugees escaping religious persecution, and immigrants supposedly were welcome and played important roles in building this whole country. And we used to consider ourselves a melting pot, but I would say we're more like a salad of vegetables and nuts or fruits that don't always taste so good together. There's my honest statement. We have many pockets of different cultures here. So in the big cities, there are African American sections, Little Italy, Chinatown, Jewish sections, Irish communities, and of course ghettos. Out in the middle of the country, there are large tracts of prairie and farmland, and they were settled by Ukrainians, many people from that area, Russians, Germans, Scandinavians. And in the West and other parts of the country, there are many groups of Asians and Latinos from different countries there. So I'm going to focus today on a very small population of people from here, from various backgrounds across the country. And that's the community of people who embrace circle dancing as an essential part of our lives. I believe everyone in this group would welcome each of you to visit with open hands and open hearts, knowing we share a culture of values that circle dancing embraces. One of caring, connection, peace, harmony, healing, equality, all of which we'd be eager to share with you through dance. And that's just what I experience when I travel to other countries to teach. This is an enormous country. So just to give you an idea, the distance from me on the East Coast to the West Coast is a bit more than 3,000 miles. That's over 5,000 kilometers. That's the same distance from me across the Atlantic Ocean to Findhorn in Scotland, where you are, Brent. So instead of focusing on the diverse culture in the United States, I'm going to show you a bit of the diverse natural beauty here, which in many parts is really awe-inspiring. Our dancing circles are very spread out, so I'll take you on a visual tour through the US to show you the land where we dance and briefly introduce you to some of the teachers and facilitators who have seeded and spread and now keep sacred circle dancing alive here. We dance many styles, dances from many countries, from a big variety of choreographers. For this program today, I have intentionally chosen dances that are lyrical, that are made here in the United States, made in the USA, to music written and performed by North American artists. And we only have a time for a few, so I hope you enjoy them. Brent, would you put on the map '01? Brent is showing us a map of the United States, and the lines with the arrows are going to show our journey today from the East Coast, taking a southern route across the country to the west. And then we'll return back east along a northern route. So if we can look at the first picture, which is the whole country. And you'll see on the upper right, so probably my pointer doesn't work, but you'll see on the upper right that there is a rectangle that is yellow. And so the next slide shows the area of New England, that upper northeast. And these are the various states. It's small, but those are the states that comprise New England, which is really, it's a very small part of the country, but it's where a lot of this story takes place. So I live on the easternmost shore of Massachusetts on a tiny bit of land. Brant, if you could show the next slide, which is, that's Cape Cod. It's shaped like an arm. It juts out into the Atlantic Ocean. And I live down there a little bit around the armpit, a beautiful area. So before I start the tour, the dancing tour, I want to thank you, Brant, for inviting me to do this program. I really feel truly honored. You encouraged me to tell my story, teach my dances with history of circle dance here, and also to include a dance that is traditional from this country. For this program, I've reached out to many teachers here, and I asked them to tell me their story, and I'm grateful for their input. Please take note and understand that I'm working with the information and the photos I received. It's likely that I don't know the complete history. Another teacher might present a different tour. But I have been very fortunate to have been invited to teach in almost all of the places I will show you. So my story today is even more personal. I'll do my best to introduce as many circles as we have time for. And as I introduce the people, know that there's so much more to their stories than I can tell you today, and they're more teachers. But we do have a lot in common, and most basically, all of us are dancing on land here that has been danced upon for thousands of years, consciously and ceremoniously by many different indigenous people, for whom dance is their means of prayer. So I'd like to start with a prayer dance to honor that. So sometime around 1975, I attended the first Rocky Mountain Healing Arts Festival in Colorado. And there I learned a body prayer from Native people. It's done while kneeling on the ground, touching our palms and our forehead to Mother Earth. I adapted it into a standing prayer, and I offer its essence to you as it connects us with the earth and the sky, and through our own center, experiencing ourselves as the channel that we are. So the song is by well-known Joanne Shenandoah, an indigenous tribe called the Oneida Nation. And it tells a story of how Great Spirit guided the many tribes to join together for peace. So if we could join together for peace right now, this is a dance prayer. It's done from inside yourself for your own sense of experiencing yourself, as I said, a channel. And I will show you how I do it, but when we get into it, please make these gestures your own. So we find our center, where we want to start from. And we connect deep within ourselves and take 4 counts to open ourselves to receive from Spirit, however that feels to you. And then we take 4 counts to go down to the earth. I'll step back and gather the energy of the earth. And we bring that up. We're carrying it up with our hands and through our body. Stepping forward on the right, we offer it up. We empty ourselves now and open to receive from above. And then we bring all of that back into our center. So the count will be, and I hope you won't have to count, you'll just feel this with the sound of the music. 1, 2, 3, 4, to the earth. 1, 2, 3, 4. Offering that up. 1, 2, and opening up 3, 4, and back to our center. 1, 2, 3, 4. Again, open to receive. Bring up the energy from the earth, let it rise in you. Offer it to above. Open to receive, and bring it all back into yourself. So when we're in a circle, I do take 4 little steps slightly back. The circle will expand, and then at the very end, she repeats one of the phrases of the song, and we open ourselves to Spirit. And then we come forward and we keep walking toward the center of the circle until we're in a hug hold, where our hands are connecting on the heart of the person to our right and the person to our left. So, peace and power. I will stay pretty much in the same place, not move back. When she sings.
Wasagoyu. gonna call it God's stars. Wasaguyu ingwe hui, 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 gonna call it God's stars.
Feel the beating of your own heart, joining with the beating of the hearts of all of us in a circle. And with the heart of the mother. And wishing for peace and harmony in this world. So I'm at the eastern edge on the coast of the Atlantic Ocean. Brent, would you show the picture 4? This is the land of the Wampanoag people. They call themselves the people of the first light.
If you just wait until I get the picture up, Bobby, I'll just get the picture.
So what Brent is going to show us are these cliffs. That is sacred land. The Wampanoag people have struggled for years to regain tribal status. Their land has been highly developed here. They guard their ways very carefully, but once a year they go public. Could we look at the other picture too? The next one, number 5. Another picture of the coast, a very iconic picture of Cape Cod. Again, sacred ground. So once a year they go public. Many tribes come to gather here for a big powwow, at which they have indigenous dancers and musicians. So since Brand asked me to introduce a traditional dance from here, something that has been done a long time, I want to show you this small clip from a powwow that takes place just a few miles from where I live. So we're ready to look at, he's going to jump into a video of a powwow starting at 31 seconds. I'm asking you to pay special attention to the part where you see just their feet.
It feels lovely in its.
Thank you, Brant. I want to make sure that I see it very small on my screen because I'm also on it. I want to make sure that people are able to see.
We can see.
Good. What you just saw is the oldest dance step I know, perhaps one of the most holy. It's common to many indigenous cultures in many countries. Their step and the way they use their feet, how they touch the earth with great presence, that strongly influenced me. Once while watching a native woman dancing on the earth, I was somehow transported into her foot, and I experienced directly how consciously she spoke to the earth as she danced. It's not easy to put this into words, but it made the saying very real to me that every step is a prayer. So I'd like to watch it again. Take note of how they dance. And we're going to start with just watching the feet and also see the different styles and how important it is for them to be passing on their traditions to their children.
It feels lovely and it's priceless.
Would you go a little further?
It makes me feel like I'm back
Soon as I get the high side,
with the trees
on deck.
where we're supposed to be.
Team boy grass.
You
team
can't get
boy
better than
grass.
that.
There's the upright and there's the bent over styles.
Got the children off at a very young age. The Indian way, the way we teach our children, the way they learn, the way we pass on our culture, our traditions, it's handed down through oral history and also by demonstration. Our children are little mimics and they mimic everything that we do. So when we come out in a circle and we do these dances, we do them as a family.
That's great. Thank you, Brad. A beautiful place to stop. For our dance tour, I'm going to start and introduce myself as a teacher and choreographer. I'm not a trained dancer. Findhorn was not my only source for circle dancing. I trained in body awareness called Alexander Technique with a woman who studied in England with the originator named F.M. Alexander. And I also had training to teach the sacred dances of Gurdjieff, which were truly transformative. Both of these disciplines brought me into a place of experiencing myself, my physical body, my energetic body in a spiritual way. with grace and focus and presence. And that, I feel, is the real basis of my teaching sacred circle dance to this day. In addition to that amazing experience of being in the foot of the native dancer. How we dance, what we dance, is important to me. I discovered I have healing and channeling abilities that help me sense and hold the energy in a circle, which is also very important to me. I've been involved with different forms of sacred dance for 45 years, but I first officially experienced sacred circle dance right here in Cape Cod around the mid-1980s. A woman named Anna Gallin, then called Katya, came from England and she did a small workshop. Now, I had already been offering workshops combining meditation, simple ritual, body awareness, free expressive movement, song, and circle dances, all of which I thought I made up. About 18 years ago, I started to travel and lead dances in other countries. I've been invited around South America, 3 times in Brazil, to Switzerland, England, Canada, and South Korea, and to many places here in the US that we're about to visit. I've run facilitator gatherings and taught 7 seasons of a dance retreat right here on Cape Cod. And I'd like to look at the picture 6. We dance in a small, unique, old-fashioned village called Woods Hole. And that's a view from the water, obviously. It houses world-renowned science institutions focusing on marine research, so there are often visiting scientists from around the world. It has creative artists and boasts one of the few remaining functioning drawbridges, which is what you see there. And just to the left of the drawbridge is the place where we dance. And so when I say we're dancing on water, I'm being pretty honest, it's pretty literal. So it's home of the Woods Hole folk dancers. Maybe show the number 7. It's where I run my retreats. That's a picture of our circle dancing in the building. And I think the next one too. Thank you. Yeah, there we are. Big building with big, beautiful windows. And out of there, you can see the water and the boats. And my dances are lyrical, meaningful ones, traditional, fun, and also prayerful, a wide range. And since the very beginning of COVID, I have been on Centrepiece with Brant a few times and run my own weekly Zoom classes in this new, odd way of dancing together, alone, together, in our own space. And just before we leave Cape Cod, let's get up and dance a little bit. Often, when I want to gather a group, I use a simple Provo dance. And I also create many variations of that basic dance. And this is one I've used for a very long time. It's to an instrumental version of a well-known song that is deeply rooted in American gospel. It's called Wayfaring Stranger. And it's played by Bobbi Horton. It's from a soundtrack of a film made honoring the famous American writer Mark Twain. And I love that instead of focusing on the woeful lyrics of the song, this instrumental version is very upbeat. And this is very simple what we do. A grapevine to the left, starting with the left foot, going side in front, side behind, step to the side with the left, touch with the right, step side with the right, touch with the left. Side, cross, side, behind, side and touch, side and touch, side, cross, side, behind, side and touch, side and touch. I think it's a pattern we all can pick up very quickly. So this is gathering us together as we start our journey. And You're just going to hear 3 counts and it starts. 1, 2, 3, start to the left. Brent, would you play the music of Wayfaring Stranger, please?
Thank you, Bobbi. That was so lovely. It's a nice tune.
And that's of course a dance that we can take around the room and look at one another, say hello, and meet the group and come back together in a circle. And while we're here at the edge of the sea, I thought I would do another dance. It's a favorite at our retreats, and it was created as part of a program called Healing Our Waters. The music is called The Shores of Ogygia. It was written by Will Duncan, and it's played also by Bobbi Horton. And this one's from a soundtrack that celebrates the national parks of the United States. The steps and the movement of the dance are all about water. And if you could show slide 10. This is the Vitruvian wave. We trace the Vitruvian wave with our feet. And the Vitruvian wave, I think, will be very familiar to you all when you see it. It's found on a lot of Roman Greek architecture and on pottery. It's like a yin yang too. It feeds into the design feeds into itself, and that's the basic form that we're going to draw on the ground as we dance. The dance is really all about water, and the intention, of course, is for healing the waters. The rhythm of the music is slow, quick, slow, quick, slow, quick, slow. We are going to start with 2 slow beats, slow, and then I'll show you what we do. We start by making that arc with our foot. So with our toe, we trace it on the floor, and then we trace a bigger one, and then step behind. Side right, behind again. Side right, cross in front. Side right and close. Side right and cross. So you do an arc, and then a bigger arc, behind, side behind, side in front, side close, side cross, and brush, another arc, and behind, side behind, side in front, side together, side cross, and arc, and arc, and behind, and cross front, side close, side cross. One more time, and arc.
Bobbi, could you talk a little louder, please?
Yes.
When you're over there.
I'll do it a little closer too.
Thank you.
So I'll go through it. Have you heard most of it, my description, or you want more about it? Okay. So we're tracing that arc with our toes, and then bigger, so that we start to move left foot behind. We're always moving to the side with our right on a quick beat, and the left one after this is slow. So it's arc, slow, slow, bigger arc, step behind, side behind, side cross front, side close, side cross, and arc, arc again, behind, side behind, side in front, side close, side cross. And it's slow, slow, and slow, quick, slow, slow, and step slow, quick, slow, quick, slow, quick, slow, quick, slow, and arc, behind, side in front, side close, side cross. Let's give it a try. We'd be in a circle, we'd be holding hands in a W hold, and you see, we're not just doing the water on the earth, the whole body is going up and down, and that means the whole circle is also moving in that way. So let's try it, the shores of Ogygia. With all the water in your body and the movement of water. And then it's crazy start. So let's leave behind. We leave behind a beautiful sunset over the water. I think that's number 11. And our journey is now going to be geographic, not chronological. So as we travel to different areas of the country, we'll meet dancers from different eras. Circle dancing originally came to the US by two routes. And one of them is direct from Findhorn, and the other from Findhorn indirectly by way of England, from people like Katja Gallin and Colin Harrison. So we'll head a little bit south now. We'll stop in Connecticut, where I went to my first dance camp in the early 1990s. Circle Dance Camp New England became a long-time tradition, and it was created by Caitlin and Peter Adair, who brought the dance from England. I'll talk more about Caitlin when we get to her home in Vermont. She sent me this this photo of the very first camp that you're seeing now. And Circle Dance Camp New England was kept vital by a number of New England teachers. Just quickly, Janet Scott, who we know as Rowan, and she had come from Findhorn. Gwyn Pitterdy, who met Caitlin by chance, and you all know Gwen, I think, from her long time involvement. Shaker, who taught circles in Massachusetts at his home called Touchstone. He was a teacher for many dancers, and Barbara Stokes and Mara Bennett and others. So all these teachers had been most influential in spreading circle dance in this country. Can we have the next slide? And this first camp took place at a women's camp in Connecticut called Noyes School of Rhythm. And there I encountered two dance styles, circle dance and noise rhythm. And I'd already been teaching both styles, but I thought they were my own invention. And I discovered both of them had long history and technique and a depth that way beyond what I knew. So I went to both camps every summer after that. Noise rhythm is profoundly connected to the forces of nature, and my dream is to bring it to Findhorn one day. But you can check their website. If you could put that in the chat, it's noiserhythm.org. Actually, it's in the beginning of the chat, I think.
I'll put
So
that
around
in.
1995, we got too big for the Noise campus and started a search for a new home. The group split into two. One half, largely led by Shaker, went to New York State to the mountaintop of the Sufi community called the Abode of the Message. And that camp became known as Holy Mountain. And it grew to over 100 dancers. The other half also grew to about 100 and moved around New England a bit from Maine to New Hampshire to settle finally at a retreat center called Full Moon, which was near the famous Woodstock, New York. It lasted 20 years until about 2010, when the venues just didn't work for us anymore. But both camps were the main source of new dances for us here, as we invited many excellent teachers from abroad. After the last camp, I wanted to keep the tradition going, but we couldn't find a suitable place. So I decided to offer a one-time Bobbi Bailin dance retreat here on Cape Cod. It was intended as a one-time event in this beautiful place, but people wanted to do it again, and each year, until COVID, we gathered on Cape Cod for 7 of my dance retreats. But let's move south now. We'll go to our nation's capital, which is Washington, D.C. And 14. That's a picture of our capital. And I'd like to introduce you here to a very quiet, lovely, unassuming dance teacher named Judith Walton. Judith originally brought the dance to the DC area, and she was first introduced to it by Corinne McLaughlin in 1989, who lived at Findhorn for many years and was co-founder of Sirius Community in Western Massachusetts. Sirius Community was an attempt for some people to recreate some of Findhorn here in the US. So Judith attended their spiritual workshops and immediately loved the dances and set out to learn them. So she made many journeys to Findhorn, beginning in 1992 to study with Anna Barton, Rosie Turnbull, and Peter Valance. During the time 1990 to 96, Judith co-ran workshops with Corinne, including dancing in the National Cathedral. That would be photo 16. Here's a picture of the National Cathedral in DC. Dancers who learned from Judith spread the dance around the region. First, Diane Popper, then Judith Andai, Judy David, and by the early 2000s, in came Judy Robeson and Evie Beck. This is a beautiful picture here of the group dancing in the cathedral, and you can actually see that Judith is leading the group. She says before leading a group, she takes a moment or so. Sorry. To join in hands and hearts. I'm looking for what she has said to me so I can quote her. Well, it's like linking hearts and souls with everyone in the circle and with the earth and with heavens, asking that the group achieve peace and harmony together. And that is what she believes she is facilitating. I believe many of you know Evie Beck, who has been offering Zoom dances pro bono twice weekly since the pandemic started and plans to continue. So here's a lovely photo. That is Judith Walton on the left, a friend of ours in the middle, and Evie Beck on the right. Evie says she started dancing, teaching totally by chance when Judith offered a dance at a weekend conference for poetry therapy, somewhere around 2002. And she was immediately taken by the first dance, Kos, and she felt she had come home. After that, Evie began attending a lot of local circles, going to dance camps, as many and as often as possible. She's offered regular dancing for 15 to 20 years in the DC area and nearby Virginia and Maryland. And she's attended many events in the US and elsewhere. She co-coordinated Ferry Beach Dance Camp in Maine with Ron Willett, and we'll meet that later. Evie describes her style as very user-friendly. She aspires to bring it to as many people as possible in universities and professional conferences, to whomever is willing to enhance their groups with dance. She includes some traditional dances, favors the simpler dances that are meditative and evoke a spiritual dimension. She teaches dances that inspire social activism, responding to what's happening in the world, and of course, dances that are just plain fun. So Evie suggested I offer you this next dance. It's a US favorite, The Swallow. The song is sung by Richard and Nina Farina, American folk singers from the 60s. Nina was the sister of Joan Baez. And for this song, Richard wrote the lyrics and based the melody on an old Sephardic tune, which some of you might recognize. I'll just read you a few of the lyrics of the song. Come wander quietly and listen to the wind. Come near and listen to the sky. Come walking high above the rolling of the sea and watch the swallows as they fly. There is no sorrow like the murmur of their wings. There is no choir like their song. There is no power like the freedom of their flight while the swallows roam alone. And it's a wonderful time to do this dance too, because bird migration is happening a lot here. So I will teach us that dance. I want to make sure that I have sound now, Brant. Could you just say something to me.
Can you hear me, Bobbi? Can you hear me?
Okay, I don't. I'm going to change speakers and see if that helps. And if not, it will be just.
Bobbi will just change her speaker. She'll be with
I
it.
have
then.
it. I
You
have it.
Fantastic. That's great.
I hear you through my computer, and that's fine. It's a rather simple dance.
Okay, I'm looking forward to that. Thank you, Bobbi. Just tell me when you need the music.
Yeah, it's step right, step left, and a slip step. Right, left, right. Then you sway directly into the center on the left, sway out on the right, and you're going to do 2 more sways like that, but they each go diagonally. In, diagonally out, and then you do a Yemenite. Back, back, forward. That's the whole pattern. Step right, left, and slip step right, left, right, sway side to right, sway diagonally in, diagonally out, and Yemenite, and walk, walk, slip step, sway in, out, diagonally in, diagonally out, and back, close, forward, and walk, walk, slip step, and sway, sway, sway in, sway out, and back, back, forward. So whereas the last dance was celebrating water, this one celebrates air and the flight of the birds. So when you're alone and you're doing the Yemenite, you really can let go and fly. I hope that's enough teaching. The lovely song, The Swallow. Jordan, come wander, wander.
Come wander quietly and listen to the wind. Come near and listen to the sky. Come walking high above the rolling of the sea and watch the swallows as they fly.
So I think we have to speed our trip up a bit. From here, we're going to begin our long journey across the West Coast. Passing Brant number 20, views of the beautiful Smoky Mountains, these rolling hills shrouded in mist. And we'll stop on our way about 500 miles southwest to visit another very active teacher, musician and choreographer Kevin Meyer in Knoxville, Tennessee. There. And during COVID, Kevin has been teaching weekly sessions on Facebook Live, but he goes way back to 1988 when he first encountered circle dancing while living in Cambridge, England, and he fell in love with it. His first camp was in Wales, featuring Colin Harrison and Anne Munger. And years later, he moved to Eastern Tennessee and started a group. And you're seeing that this is a kirtan dance in his garden. And they dance now about twice a month in a local yoga studio and in his beautiful backyard with the summer solstice dance. This is a kirtan dance party. I think we have another one. Kevin divides his teaching evenly between sacred circle dance and both traditional and new choreographies, and long dance, which is meditative, prayerful, reflective dance. He was mentored in long dance by Shaker at Touchstone Farm in Massachusetts, and Shaker is a big part of this story. And I think we'll hear about him again. 23, Kevin offers his annual winter solstice dance, which is a much-loved community celebration. Can we see the next picture? There, it's beautiful. And he and his wife Diane love to travel and dance whenever possible. In fact, we were just recently together at Ferry Beach Dance Camp in Maine with Ron Willett, who's, I know, attending today too, Evie Beck, and Judith Walton. That you show 25. So that's Kevin, that's me, Judith Walton, and Evie at Ferry Beach. I'll quickly mention a few more teachers in the southern states, Heather Thompson and David Buchanan and Maggie Moon. And Heather and David have also taught on the West Coast, where we're now headed. So we're going to leave the beautiful Smoky Mountains behind. Thank you, Brant. Head west for another 2,500 miles. So let's enjoy the scenery as we pass through miles and miles of prairie. This can be days and days of driving. So we have photo 27, 28. This is the prairie, very flat land forever. Next one. And not many trees, but once in a while you might see that windmill. And the next one is just an aerial view. It looks like patchwork from the sky when you fly over. But then abruptly you'll come upon the Rocky Mountains on the horizon. And there they are. So flat land forever, and then suddenly you see these beautiful mountains rising up. And so we'll pass through that, a bit of cowboy country and national park regions as we cross the Rockies into sacred lands on the western side of the mountains. So these are the Painted Desert, a really amazing place. In 33, yeah. And the next slide is a picture of Sedona, which is a new age spiritual hub in the Southwest. But we need to rush on to the West Coast. So we're going to California. This is the Golden Gate Bridge that connects the Bay Area. We're going to meet Marina and John Baer, who formed the Bay Area Circle Dancers. So let's celebrate this amazing couple for their 35 years of consistent circle dancing in the Bay Area. They hosted 30 summer dance camps in Northern California. This is one of them. That there is both Marina and John, Marina in orange and John in a darker orange, I think. Yes, thank you. Leading this circle at one of their camps. They also have hosted local, national, and international teachers. And now, thanks to them, there are about 7 different Sacred Circle dance groups that meet mostly monthly in the surrounding Bay Area. And that includes the places Oakland, San Francisco, San Jose, and maybe 6 other cities. Their story, Marina and John. Oh, this is a picture. Okay, I'll get to that. Marina and John were tourists in Glastonbury, England in 1984, and they noticed a little card tacked to a fence, and it read, "Tonight, circle dancing with awareness, beginners welcome." They were so intrigued, especially by the word awareness. They enjoyed a wonderful evening with Colin Harrison and invited him to California, and that was the start of their large group, meeting every Friday thereafter. Until the recent present, the Bears also traveled extensively, putting on workshops around the U.S. Every morning at their camp, we gathered to dance this one, the Hymn to Apollo in the Grove. On the next one, just before dinner, we danced this ancient Turkish harvest dance called Tulum Havashi. Incredibly powerful dance that celebrates the harvest, perfect for this time as well. It's done in a line, we're very close, connected. I think that's 39, the next picture. There we go. I'm there, Kevin's there, a few other teachers are there. Cheryl Fulton, another one of the California teachers, also Sienna Wildwind and Maureen Atkins. So one of these California groups is led by Sally Denman. Hi, Sally. She's also here, and she sent me this picture. Sally was introduced to the dance at Findhorn in 1992, where she returned in 2013 to do teacher training. She's been teaching regular groups steadily for 16 years. She's dancing on the beach of the Pacific Ocean now. We're right at the edge of the West Coast. She's also led circle dance workshops at national and international arts conferences and retreats here in the US, Florida, Alaska. Sally now leads most of her sessions in conjunction with the timing of the Celtic nature calendar. So that's about eight times a year, she said. So like the Bears, and so many of us here in the United States, we've been inspired by so many teachers, too many teachers to count, as you can see. And you can, oh, there's the redwoods that we'll see just before we leave California and head back east. I also consider nature to be a major teacher for us as well. So that was a quick visit to the redwood forest. And as we head back east, we take a more northern route. And we're going to make a brief stop near the Canadian border in Minneapolis, Minnesota. But first, we're going to pass through more sacred places. So this is a place where there are ancient native cliff dwellings. They sit high on the rocks. Let's see, the next one is a close-up of one of them. There's the ruins of a village nestled way high into that cliff. So we're going to see the Rocky Mountains now from the west facing east. And it's still awesome. But we have to travel into Wyoming. More beautiful mountains, more beautiful scenery. We go to the next one, and there we leave the Rocky Mountains to enter again onto prairie land and the Great Plains. So just let's sit with that for a little while. Oh, it's the first time we're seeing buildings in the prairie. But again, it's miles, days of passing through this kind of flatland. And there's an incredible feeling of expanse when you see the land, so much sky all around you. And at sunset, at sunrise, at moonrise and moonset, the globe of the sun and the moon are enormous, and the afterglow lasts forever. So with the sunset, if you're traveling west, the sunset will go on for much longer time. And the same, there we go. So I'd like to do another dance, and this is to celebrate this incredible expanse of land and to really feel it, the light of the sun and the light of the moon coming in us, and we're going to spread that out as far as the eye can see. It's Psalm of the Prairie, and the music is to a tune by a man called Peter Ostushko. He recently passed away, and he was from Minneapolis, where we're headed. He's from Ukrainian background, and he became a real icon of music that's often heard in the Midwest. I'll teach you this dance. The steps are all waltz. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So that is done with the feet. And I'll show you what the arms do. To each 1, 2, 3, the arms will come up, 2, 3, and then into a giant globe, 2, 2, 3. And then it will open into a chalice, 3, 2, 3, and bring that light down, 4, 2, 3, and into your heart, 5, 2, 3. And then the right hand's going to spread it out. And the left hand will spread it out. And then a 3-step turn, and you spread it all around. So we start going in on the left foot. And this is what it looks like. In, 2, 3, in, 2, 3. Step left side, 2, 3. Back, 2, 3. Back, 2, 3. Now to the right, 2. To the left. Turn over your right shoulder, 1, 2, 3. Begin again, left, 2. Right. And to the left, 2, 3. Back, 2, 3. Back, 2, 3. Right and left, and turn. In and in. Step left and bring it down into your heart. Turn to the right and the left and turn. I hope that's enough teaching. So you feel like you're really bringing up the light, and then you're bringing it into yourself and spreading it around. So Bran, if you would play the Psalm of the Prairie by Peter Ostrushko. And let's see. We're going to hear an intro. Oh, okay. Then we'll start over. We're going to hear the intro, and then there'll be 2 notes of the mandolin, which is the instrument that he plays, and then we'll start the dance. And just feel yourself out in this great expanse of land, spreading light. Now we're going to finish our long trip across the prairie, heading a bit north to the northern shores of the Mississippi River. 51. So this is where Emily Jarrett Hughes teaches and dances. If we could see, yeah, it sits on a cliff at the edge of the Mississippi River. She teaches a weekly circle dedicated exclusively to women's ritual dances, drawing from Laura Shannon's research. She holds full moon dances to live traditional music. She does community blessing events. So this one is a winter blessing at Epiphany time along the frozen banks of the Mississippi. She said they're dancing and singing in the crunchy snow. They also do an Earth Day St. George celebration. Number 53, 52 or the next, yeah, that's one of the Earth Day celebration. And then the next one, she sewed Bulgarian-inspired ritual clothing for a special day of dancing to bless the community. That's her second from the right, moving left. And she also studied with the bears. Oops, all right, we're a little bit ahead. So let me just finish with Emily. Since 2013, she's done workshops and retreats where she says she's bringing the wisdom teachings of our dance tradition and focusing as a guide to living as allies to their Indigenous neighbors, and also building relationships with Indigenous water protectors. As you know, in this country, the protection of our waterways is really threatened by many oil companies wanting to build pipelines through the country. So the Indigenous people really need our support because water is life, as they say, that's their theme. So I'll leave that behind, Brent. We can see the next slide now, because we're going to head northeast now. We're going back to New England. We're going to visit Julia Lynham in Vermont. She's at the Canadian border. And Julia started circle dancing in 1993 in England with Jan Mulroney. She had no thought of leading dance until she emigrated to the United States in 1996. And dancers started to ask her to teach because they perceived her as coming from the source. So the next slide too is Julia, a May Day celebration on Lake Champlain, I believe. Since then, she's traveled, led dance in Burlington, Vermont, at camps and at Niskaya, which is a place we'll visit soon. She used to publish a circle dance journal called Seventh Circle, and now she also offers Zoom sessions. As a storyteller, her particular focus is to weave dance and story together, which I'm attempting to do a bit also in this presentation. So this next slide that you're looking at is Caitlin Adair with her husband, Peter. They also are in Vermont. And I met Caitlin just a few years ago at a gathering for World Circle Dance Day in Brattleboro, Vermont. I had heard her name for a very long time. And I just found out that we could trace most of all the New England circle dance back to her. That is all that arrived from the England path. Caitlin made an instant, deep impression on me, and all I can say is that woman saw me. She saw who I am after just one dance. Meeting her was an amazing experience for me. So she sent me these old photos. This is her and her husband. And her very first circle dance group is the next one, 59. These are old photographs, which I think she took photographs of with her phone. So that's their very first dance group. She lived in Bath, England in 1986, where she learned circle dance from Katja, and she realized she had to bring it home. When she came back to Vermont, she created this weekly folk dance group together with a woman named Mary Liz Riddle, who became a major support for her. Their group met in Brattleboro, focused on sacred circle dance. And although Caitlin no longer dances, the group has continued to meet almost weekly for sacred circle dance. Let's look at the next picture. That's a very early group that she sent. And this is Brattleboro in an Aikido studio. There I'm leading a little dance. They met almost every Sunday afternoon, weekly, and they invite a lot of us local teachers to teach. And the whole affair is supported by an angel. His name is Parker Huber. I think he's slide 62. So just honor this amazing man who has kept this group alive since early 80s, mid 80s. So that's Parker Huber. And Caitlin, back in '86, invited Katja and Peter Valance and Colin Harrison and others to teach in Vermont. This is what Vermont looks like. There's another building, but very iconic in the fall when the leaves turn. And they then traveled all over New England, and at every place they visited, the seeds she planted grew into new circle dance groups. That's our next trip. We could just look at that. It's beautiful while I tell you a bit more of her story. With Peter Valance, she took American dancers on a circle dance tour of sacred sites in England and Scotland. And many of those people who went with them began teaching. And in 1990, she's the one who spearheaded that first circle dance camp New England that we visited when we were in Connecticut. And that is where so many of us dancers and teachers enjoyed 20 years of summer bliss, learning and sharing dances, and so much more. Okay, so the slide before of Vermont will lead us to this place, but let me just read to you something that Caitlin wrote to me. By dancing in circles, we are enacting the movement of the spheres, the interconnectedness of all beings everywhere. Sacred circle dance is ritual enactment, whether one is able to see that or not. The circle itself is a symbol of every cell. Its integrity, coordination, harmony, aliveness. And then we add music and movements and consciousness, and the power of it gets stronger and stronger. I know you feel this. So Caitlin, I want to say I do, but I could never have articulated it so beautifully as you have here. Thank you. Caitlin tells a story of leading dance at a healing arts camp in Maine. And while dancing outside, she called out loudly, "We need one more dancer for circle dancing." And a young lady was walking by and heard the call and joined them. By the end of the dancing, the young lady said that she felt like she could devote her life to circle dance. And that's exactly what she did. That young lady was Gwyn Pitterdy, who now divides her time between Massachusetts and Mexico and South America. She's taught so many places. She focuses mostly on traditional dances, many a Bulgarian. She does panurhythmy. And Gwyn created World Circle Dance Day. And if you'd wait with the slides, I'm getting there. And now I hear she has some big plans for the future of circle dance. Another dancer who learned from Caitlin was George McNeil, who was known as Shaker. He ran Touchstone Farm in East Hampton, Massachusetts. He carried the torch with many seasonal celebrations at Touchstone. Shaker was very influential in the circle dance world, mentor to many, teacher at camps around New England, keeper of Holy Mountain Camp, and he had a Sufi background which strongly influenced his way of teaching, and he also weaved magic. So we are going to go back to Massachusetts shortly, but first we'll say goodbye to Vermont, which was that last picture of mountains and beautiful fall leaves. And we're crossing the mountains now eastward into New Hampshire. And we're going to climb into the dramatic White Mountains, where Niskaya is nestled. Niskaya Moving Arts Center. And we heard some of you are there right now watching us. It has become a major center for circle dancing in New England. They hold weekly community dancing, host visiting teachers, and create special events since 1996. It's a great gift conceived and built by our friend Jenny Dupree. It has a fascinating structure with 4 hyperbolic paraboloids that create the unique roof and curving staircases within. It's named after a rogue tower in a science fiction book called Darkover by an American author, Marion Zimmer Bradley. So Jenny Dupree started out in folk dance, which connected her to her Scottish heritage. And she told me that her Celtic soul rose up and said something like, well, it's about time. She had envied the Greeks and Israelis for their folk dances, and now she'd found her own. She used to joke that she went to folk dancing like other people went to church, essentially saying it fed her soul. Jenny started teaching a small folk group and then encountered a sacred circle dance event celebrating the fall equinox in 1988. She said they did dances she already knew, but they danced around a candle and a bowl of water in the center. Then she took her first workshop with Peter Valance when he was in Massachusetts in 1989, and she added circle dance teaching to her folk dance sessions. Jenny also wrote a fascinating book called The Feminine of History is Mystery. Are we at 67?
We're at the Niskaya picture of her.
Is this number 67?
I'm not sure. Yeah,
So just go to the next one.
yeah.
Yeah, there we are inside dancing, and you can see the railing on top are little places people can sleep along the border of the center circle where they dance. And then there's a curving stairway that comes down, and there's one on the other side. And the next one, I'm teaching at their dance camp here. And the next one is my session, a picture of my session at the very first U.S. Circle Dance Conference called Joining Hands. And the next slide will show you those of us who presented at that conference. So you can see some of the names I've been saying. There's on the left back, Gwyn Petterdy with Laura Shannon. Next to Laura is Evie Beck. And then to the left below Gwyn is Anne Catherine McDonald from Quebec, and myself. And if you go to the next one, this is a close-up of the three New England dancers who are most active at Niskaya. And this was their 10th anniversary celebration. So on the left, you see Julia Lynam, who we visited up in Vermont. And on the right, you see Jenny Dupree. And sandwiched right there in the middle is Kayla Dauphiné, who is the director of Neskaya. Kayla teaches workshops and also their Sunday dance circle. She first experienced circle dance in the mid-90s in New Hampshire at a weekly dance, and she knew she wanted to teach right away. She kept helping out and then attended summer dance camps. She took every circle dance workshop she could that was offered at Neskaya, and she moved to Dancing Bones, a circle dance community in New Hampshire, where she helped plan and teach dances when they had their summer camps. In 2008, she moved to Neskaya to live and to work there as the director. She began co-teaching their Sunday dance circle every week with Jenny, and eventually taking over the circle on her own. Kayla hosts the Zooms that come from Neskaya, and she has offered some inspiring workshops based on the tarot, and another one combining circle dance with nonviolent communication. So we're going to head down now back to Massachusetts, and keep this one up for a while now, Brant. And most of you will recognize Bernard Vosien. And the woman next to him is Janet Scott, who we know as Rowan. Rowan had been carrying forth with the teachings that she learned from her experiences in Findhorn. She was an enthusiastic member of the original group at Findhorn that received direct teachings of Bernard Vosien. When she returned to the US in 1978, she set up the very first sacred circle dance group in the States that had a direct link to Findhorn. It was in Hartford, Connecticut, close to where Sacred Dance Camp New England began. Rowan also offered workshops in Massachusetts, working with others, including the woman Corinne from Sirius Community, who taught Judith Walton. And I quote Rowan, we taught and danced to uplift, heal, and connect human hearts in an increasingly fragmented world. One of Rowan's favorite experiences that she shared with me was offering circle dance in churches. And actually, I first met her at a spiritual event in the early 1980s that was held at Harvard Divinity School. Rowan was one of my very first teachers and continued to be a vital force and leader at our New England camps, joining forces with Shaker and others that I've mentioned. Rowan carried the original dances from Findhorn and kept them alive through the new wave of choreographies that were just emerging at that time. I remember her well at Holy Mountain Camp, where she pulled us aside, offering to share with us the older dances from Findhorn. Here's a more recent photo that I found of us. You could show the next one. The Third World Circle Day in Brattleboro. That's Rowan next to me. I'm the one in the light purple. She's next to me on my right, and moving toward the left is Linda Blake and Lucia Wilson. They're both dancers and teachers and choreographers. And on the way right is Gwyn. And on Rowan's left is Ellen Kennedy. Ellen has been sharing her love of sacred dance for 30 years. She also trained at Findhorn and helped design training for teachers, and shares her joy of dancing in community for healing and wholeness in schools, at national conferences and retreats. She's guided pilgrimage to Findhorn from the US to experience the magic of Findhorn, to receive the teachings from the sacred dance community there, to learn the history of sacred dance, and receive Anna Barton's wisdom and blessing. She wrote that she promotes dance as it comes from a deep desire to connect with divine mystery, and this impulse is encoded in our DNA. So we here are deeply indebted to all these pioneers in sacred circle dance who brought dance, continue the tradition, and are passing it on now. And to all of those from abroad who brought us their knowledge and talent and wisdom. Oh, we have one more stop before we end our tour. Back on the East Coast, a few hours north of me, we just gathered there a few weeks ago for the 4th Ferry Beach Dance Camp created by Ron Willett, and who's watching us from Niskaya, and they're doing a review of the dances there right now. He teaches in Massachusetts. So there's a beautiful picture he sent of the walkway to the beach. And the next one, I think, is us dancing White Night, which is led by Evie Beck. This year it was a silent night, all in white, beautiful event. This venue provides us with home where we can comfortably stay, dance, eat together with all the amenities and the added joy of being on an ocean beach at the Atlantic coast. Ron first encountered circle dancing with Judy David when he lived in the DC area. And he's the line of teachers that went back to Judith Walton. Ron attends almost every dance camp and event available here and frequently goes to the camp in Mexico. That's the beach, another sunset. And he frequently goes to the camp in Mexico that Gwyn Pitterdy has created. He says he's drawn into 2 directions: the energetic dances that express joy, and the introspective, reflective dances that enable a physical expression of spirit. So this is my photograph. I'm ending my tour as I return home down to the eastern coast of Cape Cod. So where I can bathe in the afterglow of yet another beautiful sunset. And I know there are even more people who we could have spotlighted today and more stories to tell, but I must leave that for another time. So I thank you all for traveling with me. Say hello, which I didn't really have a chance to do at the beginning. Wonderful to see familiar faces and some of you who I spoke about. I know there's so much more I could say about you wonderful dancers and teachers.
Maybe we can have a USA 2 in the future. Who knows? Okay, so maybe, Bobbi, would you share with me by bringing your hands to the screen and connecting with me hand to hand? That would be really nice. And if everybody else can do the same. And let's tune out together before we connect with the chat. Okay, let's close our eyes or gaze at your candle flame for a moment. And just have a little silence. So Bobbi, what a wonderful tour you've taken us on, and I'm sure because of the vastness of the USA, you could have done a number 2 session. Maybe that will come in the future, who knows? Who knows? We'll see. But thank you for taking on that ginormous task. I so appreciate your enthusiasm.
Thank you for asking me, for inviting me to do this enormous task.
Thank you so much. And maybe if you stick around for the chat, maybe